Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to introduce you our guest today. Our guest today is Dominic. Um, he's been a great mentor of mine. His advice last year actually helped me make my first $2,000. So I'm very thankful for you. And yeah, you're currently the founder of this company and the CEO of a Packative. And yeah, the first question I love to ask is, what would you say Packative is to the listeners at home?
All right. So yeah, hi. Nice to meet everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. So Packative is solving the problem of the fragmented industry of the packaging industry, meaning we help customers to really get started with packaging because it has a high entry barrier for them to order packaging. So whenever you have a brand, your own product, like a cosmetic product or even a bakery, you usually need some kind of packaging, and we really help them to get it started. So before Packative, there wasn't any platform where you can really order it online, and everything was driven by RFQ. That means request for quotation processes. So whenever you want to start with a packaging product, you would have to write an email, you have to go offline, get a quotation, which takes a few days, and then eventually after like 1 or 2 weeks you can really like start with the production. And by that time we already finished with Packative right now. So we built this whole process online that we can really allow the customer to do everything online in the e-commerce system and help them with the whole packaging process.
Yeah, and the Korea's e-commerce system is growing. Coupang is a big unicorn, and yeah, I love to. I guess this is kind of because you've been in the startup industry. I think it was. I think you started at 2017, so it's almost been around 8 years. Quite a long journey.
Yeah, I think at the beginning I wasn't really in startup per se. It was more of like a consulting business. So I was working for the Pyeongchang Olympic Games. I was in charge of 12 country houses at that time, and I wouldn't consider that a like startup experience.
But would you consider yourself an entrepreneur at that time?
Yeah, of course.
It's just what would you say are like lessons you've learned, like just some of them that you've learned from 8 years of experience in entrepreneurship, maybe specifically to Korea or just general in terms that you've learned?
I think what I learned the most is you need a lot of resilience. So resilience is the skill I probably skilled up the most in the last 8 years. There are a lot of challenges I had to overcome, and this is really what is entrepreneurship about for me, is to be resilient about all of the challenges that come at you. You get a lot of rocks thrown at you, and to overcome this, you can really start a business then, right? So I think that's what my lesson, yeah.
Resilience. And how would you say like were there like key moments where you like built resilience, like things?
Let me think about this. So I think when there were some really challenging times of like when I was thinking, should I go on with this business? Should I stop right now? I would take a break for half a day. I would just go for a long walk. I would think about it. I would sleep over it. Maybe take another walk in the next morning, and then I would ask myself, can I go through it or not? What would be my strategy to like solve this problem right now? And I think so far every problem wasn't big enough that I would say like I'm gonna quit or I'm stop doing what I'm doing, because of course I also love what I'm doing. So I think that's the most important thing, to really be able to be resilient, that you're doing what you really love.
And what would you say you cared most about in this industry? Is it the specific issue or what makes you so driven?
I think the whole industry is more focusing on the suppliers, so it's kind of like supplier first. And for me, the customer was always in the front. So customer first is what we living in our company. So we build a product first, which is for customers. So this is how we are actually different, by really serving the customers and not the factories actually.
Interesting. And just like kind of, so you've achieved quite a lot of growth. Your LinkedIn's like 750% growth. And I remember you have more employees than when I last came. What would you say are like in the last your 4 years of growing this company? What are key things that led you to like growth from startup and achieving some milestones? Last time you talked to me, you achieved like a yearly revenue milestone. What was the key things that you think led you to achieve that goal?
I think we had a really good product from the beginning. We didn't really bootstrap lean at the beginning, which was of course somehow painful because the whole development time took almost a year till we launched. So I think I wouldn't recommend anybody to do this in that way. But still, at some point, it also brought us a lot of stability on the product itself. so we could really scale this prototype for more than 3 years right now. And actually right now we are in the process of changing the first prototype that I have been actually developing myself, and we change it to a new platform right now. So I think this really helped us to manage our resources really well. And then we just hired people when we really needed them. So I didn't go into like crazy scale up and use all of the investment money to like scale fast. So of course there has to be some scalability for investment and investment growth, but still you don't have to overhire at some point, I think. So finding the right people to really bring the product forward was, I think, our key, and the product itself to our growth.
So building the right team slowly and really choosing great people, and then building, you wouldn't recommend this, but just a product, really great product at the start. What would you say is things you do about hiring great talent, and how you see, you just had an interview before this interview, so I'm curious.
Yeah. So actually hiring it's still really challenging for us because number one, we are in Korea. That means you don't have the same talent pool if you're looking for English speakers. So we have some challenges on this one, which is okay for some of our positions. So our sales team, for example, is more in the Korean side, sales production team, which is totally fine because they deal with Korean clients. But our product team has 2 French guys, so they speak mostly English. So I need people who speak English in the product team, and marketing team has to be like kind of both, because they also have to talk with the product team, of course. So it's a bit challenging to find bilingual people who also want to join a startup, right? Because bilingual people usually have more willingness to join some bigger companies like Coupang or some more developed startups already. So I think this part is still challenging, but we're making some good progress. And I think platforms like Dev Korea really helps us on finding good developers. And kudos to Florian for building this solution.
Yeah, well, Florian's great. Shout out to Florian.
Yes, definitely.
I see. And what would you say? So you said because there's Coupang in those companies, which is like one of the biggest e-commerce companies in Korea. What would you say you kind of give them? Like, is it like your team culture? What would you kind of bring them as? What's like how you bring those talents as?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So actually, usually in our size, we're 14 people, 13 people right now. I think most of the startups in my size don't have an HR manager. So I hired an HR manager because of the culture building. So from the beginning, my goal was to build a really good company culture that combines where I'm coming from Austria, from like my background, plus the Korean culture, to combine a kind of a global culture at the end. And this HR manager, he's like driving this and really focus on building a new kind of company culture. And this really helps us to make people happy within the company. And this is, I think, how we can convince them to join us, actually.
How resilience and really customer focused. Those sound like something I read a lot in like a lot of entrepreneurship books. What would you say are some like resources or people you look up to and look for advice as an entrepreneur yourself?
That's a good question. So I have a really good mentor, actually. I have a mentor in Germany who has a similar background as me. So he used to be a developer and then became a CTO of a company, then moved to the operational side as a CEO, and then he took over as a CEO of like 100, 200 people. So he's a really genius. He's a real true entrepreneur. And I keep having my sessions with him, and he unlocks he helps me in my thought process of like really unlocking things what I didn't really think about. So I really value this, and this helps me to move forward, I guess. I wish there would be more mentors like this, accessible mentors like this, especially in Korea. It would be nice to have someone who is like really understanding both kind of company cultures and understanding Korea. But I think that's quite hard to find in Korea. But yeah, it would be good to find someone. So if somebody's out there, I would be happy to get a new mentor.
Yeah, there's some great mentors that can really help. And
That's
what would
cool.
you, like you've also helped me a lot. You tell me how you think about, so this going on with this, or I met with you last year and I was trying to build a startup, but I'm not good at coding. It was my first month starting, and then you're like, oh, try no code. Using AI is not like it's not like, even if you skip, I mean, you have to understand the fundamentals, but it's not like a cheat code. Like it's not like a school test, So that really helped me. But I love getting a mentor. How did you get that mentor? Because that's quite hard. And what do you think is the reason why they help you? Because there's a lot of questions my friends ask as well.
Yeah. So actually, I asked my mentor why he's actually doing this, and he's running this free mentor program, and I found it on LinkedIn, and I thought, oh, that sounds cool. And I at that time I had like one of these challenges like to overcome in my business, and I thought, oh, I'm looking for a mentor, and I saw this post on LinkedIn, and I applied for his program. And I think a week later we got together on Zoom, and it was a really good call. And when I asked him why is he actually doing this, he said because he want to give back. So he also had a lot of mentors and like people teaching him something, and he just want to give back, and that's why he's like committing around 2 hours per week for mentoring, and everybody can like book a session with him, and yeah, he has been really super helpful.
Oh, that is beautiful. Wow. I mean, just you mentioned you're from Austria. How is the Austrian like startup ecosystem different than Korea from your experience?
Um,
And then what is Korean startup ecosystem like from?
So I'm not really sure if I'm qualified to answer much about the Austrian startup ecosystem, because I haven't been in Austria since the last 11. I mean, I've been there visiting, but I didn't really do business there for the last 10, 11 years. So I was 23 when I moved to Korea. So
Wow.
I started working when I was 16, so there was some time of work already. But still, I wouldn't say like I'm qualified to answer that one. But when it comes to Korea, I think the Korean startup system ecosystem has been growing a lot over the last years. I see much more foreign entrepreneurs here, which is really great, and I'm really happy that I can see this, because I think it requires much more people to come to Korea first before we can actually go out of Korea. So most of the Korean startups who have like the big goal of like becoming global, I truly believe if you're not a global company culture, you can never become global, because you don't have the experts who really help you to get abroad. So I truly believe that we need much more entrepreneurs, global entrepreneurs in Korea to actually really make this happen here.
Are there any, because a lot of the audience might be foreign entrepreneurs in Korea, what would you say are some like advice you'd give them just specifically on being successful in Korea based on your own experience?
So I think I would say build a good team at the beginning. So there are two things: either you speak Korean well enough that you start a business, which I didn't at the beginning, and I struggle a lot with that part, all of the administrative issues that come with it, tax issues, etc. Or you have a really good business partner who you start the business with, and then you have a good team, right? So even if you're a solo entrepreneur, that's totally fine. Just find someone at the beginning, an employee or something, who can really help you to get the business started. I think this is like the basic requirement to start any business. And then the second thing is, that's also what I did explain in my second investment round, is if you truly build a product in Korea, then you should make sure you understand this product and the market much better than anybody in this industry. So, because you compete against Koreans who grow up here, who have a social network. So if you really build a product for Korea, you must know what you're talking about. So I think that's my advice on this one.
I mean, I saw that your previous startup before this, you ran for around 2 years. You mentioned last time we talked about stories, like you helped with Olympics, all the European Olympics. I would love to go more in depth into what that startup was and things you maybe learned from that experience.
Yeah, sure. So I started a import business actually at the beginning. So we were importing Austrian pumpkin seed oil, which is something really famous in Austria, and we eat it with every salad in Austria, and it has a really vivid gold green color kind of, and we actually call it the green gold of Austria, and it has so many unproven health benefits, and we were importing that to Korea, and within the first month that we start selling, suddenly we got contacted by a TV show from MBN or something like this, and we got aired with our product for almost 20 minutes in this show, and we were selling crazily after that. So I think almost 8 hours of my day were about packing stuff, just like really putting everything in a box and just send it to the customers. We were selling online, and we did this for almost half a year, just fulfillment service kind of every day. At that time, there weren't many 3PL services in Korea, so we couldn't really have this kind of option. So it was really tough at that time, but it was really fun. And then we worked with hotels together and sold also this pumpkin seed oils in hotels. We started importing some other products, some other oils, some jams and stuff. And this got us somehow through the hotel connection. We got into the Olympic connection, and then we got the Austrian house as the first client, and we start looking for like sourcing. They had like a budget, and they needed all of these different like products like meat and whatever in Korea. So we were looking for some partners for that, and we ended up working together with one of the biggest, CJ Freshway. And then I thought all of the work that we have to put into this, like to really operate this whole project, because it started like 7 months before the Olympic Games actually even started. So I thought if we put that much time into one customer, there must be some other customers as well, like those kind of company houses who need the same service. So I was like reaching out to some other companies, and then I got this UK catering company, and they were in charge of 10, 11 country houses. And we met them, and they really liked working with us together. So I signed them as well. So we had suddenly 11 country houses to manage. And then I got in the last minute call. It was December, and then February there were the games, and I got a call from the German house, and they said like, we need a local supplier. So I said, sure, we can do that. And yeah, this is how we kind of like managed 12 country houses at that time. And I hired 4 people during that period just for those projects. And yeah, it was challenging. I was on site for almost 1.5 months in Pyeongchang. To manage everything. I was receiving all of the products at 5 o'clock in the morning at minus 40 degrees. It was fun. It was fun. It was a big learning experience. And I think my Korean really improved during, especially that time, actually. Yeah.
Well, that's such an interesting story. Wow. Um, like, what made you like start business from the first place?
So when I came to Korea, I came for a software company, Austrian software company, and I built a representative office. And at one point, my business partners, they wanted me back in Austria. There were some projects, and the representative office didn't really move forward in Korea because I needed more sales power, which I didn't get. So it didn't really make sense anymore to stay here. But I liked my life here, so I liked Korea. I was maybe 26 at that point. 25, 26. So it was like 3 years after I came to Korea. And I decided I just want to leave the company. I want to start something by myself. I'm going to do some freelance or whatever. So I actually switched to a working holiday visa and just tried my things. I'm like finding some jobs, doing some freelance stuff. And I got a lot of clients from before. So that actually saved me a lot on my freelancing. My clients were in Austria and Germany and the States, so it helped me a lot on like building my own businesses. And then I had a talk with one of my Austrian Korean friends who came back from Austria for military service, and we were like really good buddies and always meeting up. And after he was done with his Olympic Games, it was pretty much the same with his military service. It was pretty much the same time as when I quit my company. And then we said, oh, let's try something together. Let's import some Austrian stuff. We searched for some products, and we found this pumpkin seed oil. And this was actually the go. And yeah, I worked happily with him till after the Olympic Games. And yeah, it was really good working with him.
So it was just like for like a fun project to do, and then
Yeah,
it just scaled a lot bigger than you'd ever imagined.
Right. And actually, I was also really tired of like dealing with a lot of project-based IT projects. So my Austrian company was specialized in document management, CRM, ERP kind of solutions. And most of our customers were lawyers or like really big corporations who doesn't treat you that well, and especially like developers or project manager at that time. So I was really tired of like those kind of customers, and I wanted to do something for kind of consumers or something different, not IT related actually. That's why I was looking for like this import product actually. Yeah.
But you have a I think you have 11 years IT background, and you said productivity softwares a lot in your LinkedIn. I'm curious, how do you think that helped you in your current company? Because you also mentioned you're integrating AI now more into your software. How do you think it played a pivotal role in your current startup?
Definitely. So after the importing business, I decided I want to do something with IT again. And when I found these problems of this packaging industry, I also knew that I can solve these problems with all of my digital background, my IT background, that we can make this outdated industry really efficient by using digital products like ERP system or CRM system. So it helped us a lot. And this is actually why we are running much faster than anybody in this packaging industry, especially in Korea, because we use a lot of tech. That's why our product is always first with our customers together, and that's how we build our solutions. And it's not coming from like all of the problems that we might face on the supplier side, like the print might go wrong, or if we do like this could go wrong. We first solve it from what does the customer want, and then we solve the problem behind it.
So back again, very customer focused, and IT allows you to just be so much more efficient.
Right, exactly.
And how do you think AI is, I mean, last time I talked to you, AI was a lot less developed than it was now.
Yeah.
Well, how's been AI affecting, and from a standpoint of you're a logistics focused a lot, right? From a logistics perspective, how does AI affect logistics?
So our AI is not on the logistics side actually right now. It's more on the design side. So we are building our own model for generative packaging design. And our goal is that, especially when it comes to packaging design, most of the designers use tools like Illustrator, but a designer usually does a lot of research. They do go on Pinterest. They look for like different kind of packaging designs and get inspired by that. And then they start with like the first draft or like first design. So we want to help them on like generating the packaging design, and we provide all of the die construction. So die construction is like the thing that you need to make a packaging. So the CAD construction kind of. So it's automatically generated with the generative design on top of it to really get started with your first design. And that's actually done already. So we have launched 2 weeks ago a platform called DYP.ai, Design Your Package AI. It's a really early stage alpha prototype. It's focusing on the global market, English speaking market for now. So it was launched 2-3 weeks ago. And the goal for this one is actually that the last step when it goes into print production, it usually requires a person to manually check the design and make sure all of the printing rules are followed. And most of the designers don't really follow the rules when it comes about printing. So the AI should take over this part. And when it comes to Western market, they usually charge you like $50 to $150 for this design check every time. So it's quite expensive, and you have to do it for every single design that is printed. And we try to reduce this process with the AI. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So in Korea, they don't really charge for it. They just do it, or they don't do it, and then the quality is bad. So we usually do it internally. But that means whenever an order comes in, somebody of my production team spends around 10 to 15 minutes on just design checking. If it's complicated, it could maybe take an hour on just making sure the design is printable. And then at the last check, usually the printing company is checking one more time. So it is really labor intense, yeah.
And I'd love to just because this is something, a big hurdle, getting your first customer. How did you get your first customer for your current startup? What was the process like?
I think the first customer we got through a landing page. So before we launched our business, like the platform, as I said, like it took a year almost to build, right? So we built a really simple landing page where you can sign up for a newsletter or something, and then we send out some newsletters, and we had a blog actually operating, and the blog was for like organic strategy that we write about how to start a business in, like, let's say, to be a candle maker or something like this, make your own diffuser, kind of like do-it-yourself kind of products as a business, because that also needs packaging. So while we were like explaining of how to start this business, we can also make some kind of advertisement on like, oh, this is how you use packaging and how to get started with that one. So I think through this blog, we got our first lead, and then we reached out to this person and we got our first project. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, yeah.
So just like a simple landing page blog and stuff that helped you.
I think so.
And I'm just curious, what was your day-to-day life like running Packative?
It was really intense, I would say. So I think for the first 2 years, I didn't pay myself a salary. I was financing myself with freelancing. So I was working around. I was really lucky to have a fixed kind of freelancing job. So I was booked for around 14 to 8 hours a week, which I was definitely working for this customer. And on top of that, I was doing like 60 hours for my business, Packative. So my hours were really long. I didn't have any weekends. It was always like 7 days a week, working really a lot. And then after 2 years, I could actually finally pay myself a salary and stop working for this freelancer's job. But still, I really appreciate that I had the opportunity to actually build my business while don't have too much troubles or worries about like money and like financing myself, because thanks to my experience, what I had before and my customers. Yeah.
And then at the moment, like, do you like, how long do you work? Like, when do you wake up? Are there like little things you found that helps you become more productive day to day? Maybe like lemon water or something. It's as small as that.
Well, it's coffee for me, I think. But I think I'm still learning of how to be more productive, and I have up and downs as everybody else too. Um, I don't work on weekends anymore, or just when it's really required of me. I try to get more time, free time on weekends, so that I can really focus during the week. During the week, I still work a lot. I think I still try to work around 10 to 12 hours a day, and get things done. And I really enjoy being alone in the office when everybody left, and I just focus on the tasks that I can just control myself and is not led by someone else. So, but beyond that, to really stay focused is also something challenging for me to really find some things and read some books, listen to some audiobooks, or listen to some music, and really try to keep focused and concentrated. Yeah, I'm still learning on this process as well. Yeah.
Oh man, so one of the things you told me when I was learning how to code is you don't need to focus on the AI and the no code. What do you think about no code solutions for building an MVP? Which you mentioned before.
So I really love no code, and if I would start my whole business again, I would use it much more from the beginning. We use a lot of no code, more on like workflow kind of things. So when something happens, then do and this and this and this action, a lot together with like Slack notifications. Whenever an order comes in, then create some folders in Google Drive, and then you write a notification in Slack. And even for like payment, whenever we have a lot of customers who actually transfer money to our accounts, because especially for like larger orders, you cannot just pay 10K in like online on a credit card, right? So you have to wire transfer it. But when you do a wire transfer, I'm getting like a message, but my sales team doesn't. So that's why I build like this. There's an API you can connect together from a Korean service, and then I build like this workflow solution that whenever something is coming in our bank account, there's some filter going. We get a Slack notification. Everybody knows like what's going on. So for those kind of things, it's really it's really helpful to make the business more effective, actually, and reduce a lot of manual like processes. And I really push everybody in our company to use more no code. It's still ongoing, I would say. But whenever I talk to any entrepreneur, I would highly recommend them to use no code from the beginning, build your prototype with it, use workflows in there, and this will actually help you so much to run your business without having some other people doing some really manual labor jobs.
What are there no code platforms specifically you recommend?
So there are a bunch. There's Retool. I use Retool myself. There's Bodybase, which is an open source based no code solution. There's something called AppSmith, which is also a really cool thing. Everything has a bit of a different flavor and style and what you can do in there. There's a really cool thing. What we actually recently found is it's not really that no code, but it's more of like a form system called Tally.so. It's a really cool form builder kind of thingy. We also use it for some global testing right now. And yeah, it also can integrate with some other no-code tools. So I think those are the major tools what I use actually. Yeah. Oh, there's one more. It's called make.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also use make.com.
I was just talking about it with my school principal actually
Oh.
today. So yeah, I guess it's great. And then I mean, because for people, I'm trying to be a tech startup founder.
Right.
What would you recommend for me to learn coding as well. I mean, no code tool as well. And AI is also coming. What do you think I should think about AI? Because you have like 11 years of experience, and then
Actually, it's 17. Yeah.
17. Wow. From
So
that almost 2 decades of experience, how should I learn and how should I be prepared for AI?
I'm also not an AI specialist. I have a really great computer vision engineer in our company, and he's like, I really enjoy just walking to his desk and just ask him some random questions of like, what's that, and like, how does that work? So I can actually learn about my AI with like the 5 to 10 minutes that I can just watch him. So I really enjoy this part of my day actually. But to your question, so I think in general when you wanna when you want to skill up your dev skills or something, I think it was, at least for me, it was much easier if I had a concrete goal. So I see there are a lot of boot camps out there where you do some to-do lists and some things, what they tell you to do and what you have to program. But I mean, it helps to get started, of course. But I think you have to really grab a project early on, something that you want to build, and then you have a lot of goals of like what is the feature, like what you have to build, and this drives you to look into how can you actually make this happen. And you will come into a problem 100% while building this, and then you have to go on Stack Overflow. You have to look of like how to solve this error, and then you would move on. Maybe you go in Reddit, you ask for some questions, or you find some other way on like more on the feature side, product side. And I think this really helped me actually to start programming. So at the beginning for me, it was I was a fan of a well, metal band. I don't want to say the band name. It's kind of embarrassing, but I really wanted to make like this fan page for them. So at the beginning, I used this program called Microsoft Front Page, a really trivial like front-end page builder, one of the first, and it reached its limits really fast. So my father, he used to be working in the IT industry more on like the system side. So he could tell me some things at the beginning, but he reached his limit on like knowledge of development at some point. So I was looking into skilling up myself, and then I learned myself PHP of like how do you make a guest book was like one of the first projects.
And this is when you're like 13, right?
Yeah. So how can you like write this community kind of things, and this actually really helped me on like developing all of the skills. Yeah.
I mean, you're not expert now, but you still use AI for your own company. Like, are you worried about AI like replacing, or not really?
It's a tough question. I think I'm not really worried about this. Of course, there are a lot of things out there for like ethical AI and stuff, and I think it's highly important that we should consider this and not just commercialize it. But I think it gives an incredible opportunity, especially in countries like Korea, where half of the population is going to be gone in the next 25 years, 30 years. So you need AI to replace some of these jobs, of course. So I see AI as a tool for us humans to help us to achieve something even greater and bigger. I don't really see it as replacing us right now. I think it's a tool. It's a good tool. It unlocks a huge potential what we cannot do ourselves and can help us in a lot of daily jobs, especially in business. But I don't want to think beyond that yet. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say are like your future goals at the moment that you have for yourself, if you're down with sharing it?
Okay, so I think when it comes to like 5 to 10 years, goal would be something like I want to help other people build businesses. So I think I want to put all of the things that I learned building my business right now and put it into place as kind of a mentor, coach. Could be free, but could be also a business angel or something. Depends of how well our company is doing. That's like the long time goal for me, to really help other people build businesses. When it comes to short term, within the next year, so one of the things is definitely raising. So we're currently raising Series A funding. I think in investor market we would disclose it as a seed funding round. Korea is there's a gap between these fundraising routes. So I definitely want to close that one. A second thing is I want to go into short run production. That means I really want to start our own factory. Factory facility that focus especially on like low quantities, like starting from one piece up to like 1,000 piece. And there's some technology called digital printing, and this is like driving the whole industry. So I really want to use this actually more in Korea because there's no solution yet in here, while the West use them a lot already. So that's the biggest goals for the company. Yeah.
And then this is the last question I ask every single one of my guests. Is and this is very interesting because you started when you're 13 or 11, so younger than even me. Um, if you can travel back to when you're 17-year-old, you yourself, what would you tell yourself?
I think I would tell myself, since I focus a lot on dev, I focus a lot on skilling up my dev skills. I think I missed out on some other opportunities on kind of like developing my people skills or communication skills. So I had to learn it the hard way over the last I think last years operating this business. I still had like this more of a developer mindset, being more in general of an introvert person. But if you become a CEO, you lead a company, you have to be more of an extrovert and you have to thrive and you have to have a good leadership. So I didn't really focus on this, and I wish I would have, because this might have helped me a lot these days right now. So I've seen all of my dev skills, how they really helped me build this business. But if I would just have focused half on that and half on like building a good leadership or communication skills, it would have probably helped me much more. Yeah. So I would definitely advise anybody who's 17 to focus not just on the technical side, but also on the human side, communication skills, being a good leader, which really counts. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I was talking with one guy, and he was self-taught, and he works in Facebook, and he mentioned that there's great developers who work for like not what they're worth, and there's bad developers who work at all these companies because they're able to speak and yeah, I mean, so yeah, but I'm so thankful for your time, and just before we close, where can people find you at? Because you're currently hiring some developers at the moment. Where can people find you? What are you currently looking for? To anyone who's listening.
So they can drop me an email, Dominik@packative.com. You can go to Dev Korea. My job is always there. It will be always there for dev jobs. And yeah, drop me an email. Find me in any Kakao group, which is focusing on foreigners. I'm usually there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time,
Thank
Dominic.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.